In this video, we continue our Redux setup. We will override the next.js app component. If you have worked with React, you will recall that a React app has a visible app.js file. But in this case, the next.js app component is not visible. You can, however, override it by creating your own, but its name is very specific. An underscore followed by app.js. This file will override the default next.js app component. First, we will import app from Next. Then we will import our Redux provider from React Redux. We also get with Redux from Next Redux wrapper. And React from React. Now we make a class component called myApp that will extend the imported app. I will be using a default method called getInitialProps that will print the initial state to our browser console. This method basically gets the initial props of the app when it loads and makes it available. It gets components and context from its props. The component has access to getInitialState method that we can use to get the app's initial state. We will create an appProps variable that will hold the initial state value. But we will use a ternary operator to return the result to getInitialProps if it exists, or an empty object if getInitialState is not accessible or not found. Our initial state is then the new value of appProps. Next, we log the value and then we return the initial state. I'm sure you have noticed that every component or page in next.js is a class or function that returns a display component. Finally, we're going to render the component as the result of myApp. We are going to destructure the component and appProps value from this .props. Writing this is the same as saying const component is equal to this .props.component and const appProps is equal to this .props.appProps. But, however, writing line 15 is cleaner than writing 16 and 17. Finally, we return the app inside of the render. The returned app will be wrapped in a provider that gives it access to the Redux store, and the initial props will be provided to the component. Next, we create a makeStoreArrow function that simply invokes store. And then we export our app using with Redux, which takes the makeStore function and the app component. Now, this is all for overriding our app component. It is a one-time thing and it's a lot to look at, but do not let the complexity bother you. Over time, you will get used to it. You don't have to understand what every line of code does. Just remember that it has to be put together in this exact way for everything to come together and work. In summary, you can create all Redux files and folders, install all dependencies, create the app.js file in the pages folder, copy the app.js code, paste it in the file. This will work, but it's also very important to understand the flow and what every part represents.